up and wait.
Meet the artist, you can hurry up and wait. We a real big family, can you relate? AC on the drums, mate, dig inside a crate, mate. Bless the mic and make tunes all day. Words from the artist, keep the combo. All my friends is cold as Fargo. No matter if you black, white, brown, or caramel. Talented and gifted, modern marvels. This is for the rock stars, hip hop, boom bap, emo, screw jab, indie, blues cat. What you working on? What have you done? Tell us your story in 3, 2, 1.
All right, so we're
Hurry up
live. What's
and
going on?
wait.
This is your boy AC, host of the Hurry Up and Wait podcast, to which we are affiliated at this point. So I guess we're just doing a little bit of a one-off. I'm here with the homie Joey the Bull. What's good, bro?
Yo, what's up, man? Two, because because coming in here was kind of crazy. Honored to be around you, bro. You know,
Right.
so I get to, usually, I was obviously put on to you. That's how we came in contact, and then I've had to admire like most of the posts that you make usually are engaging. Right, so everybody else in my stream is usually I said stream. Everybody else in the feed is usually it's something political, right? And I don't mean like
very
Biden,
much.
Trump, but it's something like it's black versus white. It's Biden, Trump. It's this game versus that game. It's it's always something political. But yours are more engaging for like person to person. So I've personally appreciated that.
Dude,
So.
thank you. That really means a lot. I, for one, God, I hate the sound of my own voice. I'm just going to get that out there. So when I make posts, I try not to make them so much of a my opinions on certain things, because everybody voices their opinions. And it got to a point where, for me, social media became super toxic. Not because of it's the algorithms of like social media. So if you typically like or comment on other people's hate speech, or if you go back at them, typically that's what's going to show up in your timeline. So I found a way to get rid of all of that by just making these small posts. And it started as me just being real snarky and trying to like guess and figure out the system. Like, let me figure out if I can just ask one question to see how many people it'll get out
So
to.
by chance you just stumbled onto that.
Yeah, like I legitimately just tried. Well, a couple years ago, I tried this thing because I used to drum for. Well, I still drum for the Dallas Mavericks. There's just clearly no in-game basketball outside of the bubble, which is kind of awesome. I mean, it sucks, but the bubble plays. It's awesome. I dig it. It's like the world's greatest pickup games. Like, shout out to Scottie Pippen. I agree with that. It is the world's greatest pickup games. But like, so when I drummed for them, I developed a certain fan base, and I wanted to see if it would translate into my drum set life, which was me taking my career kind of in my own hands. As a performing artist, like once you decide to step on a stage, all of a sudden, whatever backing you thought you had from everybody disappears, and now it's time to create a new fan base. So I decided to try to pull from that fan base. So I made a post saying, who wants 2 Mav tickets to such and such game? It's on a Saturday. You'll have to pay for your own parking. You have to pay for your own food, but I can get you into the building. I got 2 free tickets. Who wants
Which
it?
is a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
Yeah.
So I made this post, I want to say it was like at 9 in the morning. And then the following day, I made a post at 9 in the morning saying, hey, I've got a free show my band's putting on at Wizards in Garland. It's free. I'm not drinking, but we have a beer tab, so I can get you a couple drinks on me. Again, free show. All you have to do is show up.
Yeah, that's great marketing.
Right, except the Mavs post got seen by any and everybody. So I got hit up by somewhere in the ballpark of like 120 comments. Not me commenting back, just 120 people. Me. I'd like to go. I want to go. Versus, hey, I've got a free show. Who would like to go? Crickets.
Right, and that's usually how it is. As you started out saying, there's usually the people that you would expect to back you, and then versus like what's actually there once you're looking back into the audience, and you're like, that's not a familiar face.
Not at all. But the goal is like, I just want to see if I can bridge the two, because if I could bridge the two together, then like I feel like my career would just jumpstart. And that would work for any MC that I'm drumming with at the time, or any band that I'm playing with, because I would have my own following. And that was the idea, and it didn't work at all. Or I just kind of saw it for what it was. which was if X amount of people find it interesting, they're going to post immediately. And that means your post is going to be seen literally for like the following week versus, hey, I've got a free show. Who wants to come out? Crickets, handful of people commented. Those handful of people, I decided to bid out, and those are the people that I gave the Mavs tickets to because they actually came to the show.
Yeah, of course.
Like, dude, take these tickets. I really didn't care about the tickets. I just wanted to see like what the engagement was like. And so I took that formula. That was a couple years ago, and then I hit a really dark spell, and I had this DUI. And usually it's never the DUI that's the issue. Like, as a musician, it's always what led to the problem that's the issue. So I lost my mom about a decade ago. I didn't really seek any help about it. I just kind of just dealt with it like, I don't know, most men do. Like, we don't really talk about it. We just bunch it up inside, get to work, and realize the world's going to move on, and we can either get lost behind or we can keep up. So I didn't really deal with it as best as I could. Then my relationship that I was in at the time went to complete shit, and then like one thing after the next, after the next, after the next, now I got a DUI on my belt. And once I announced that around my phone, all of a sudden I just see a slew of like self-help ads and self-help books, and like that's what showed up on my timeline. It's like, oh, okay, I got to find a way to outmaneuver this so that way I can get onto Facebook or Twitter or something and it not just be so negative. So I just started asking questions. I would get on 9 a.m, just ask a random question. Like, what's the best show you've ever been to?
Yep. Yeah, it would early in the morning.
Yep.
For sure. Yeah.
That's just the first thing I would do. Because usually, like, we're kind of trained to do that now. Like, if we don't just throw our phone off to the side or just I view it as like a Neanderthal in the 21st century. It's like, yeah, so you have a phone, use it. No, I'm just going to put it off to the side. Like, you're weird, you know? But most people, they'll roll over. First thing they'll do is check Facebook, or they'll check something. They'll check anything that they have a notification for, they'll check it. So it's like, I just rolled over, and my natural instinct was to get on Facebook. It's like, I'm not going to fight it. I just don't want to see anything that's in my timeline. So there we go. I just posed a question, and next time I get on, hopefully I'll have some responses, and I can start going back with people and really just conversating. And from me doing that, it wielded out every bit of negativity that was in my timeline, because most of the people that were commenting on my shit weren't like assholes. like not getting into the politics talk, like none of them were really Trump supporters. And because of that, there were very seldom were arguments on any of my posts from anybody. And it seemed like I created this like open forum type of deal where people could like look at other people's answers and like respond to them. And now I'm starting conversations and friendships from like a social setting that I just asked a question, just out of sheer curiosity with no real plan in mind other than to, I guess, just get rid of the negativity on my direct timeline.
See, and that indirect action you took, it actually had a very profound effect on me, though, you know, it being in your feed, because getting that notification from my end, you know, and seeing that status, it was like, yo, that's crazy. I needed an outlet anyway. Right, because as you spoke, like, we hold things in, and I was holding, you know, I hold things in a lot. You know, I don't communicate with a lot of people. I'm without ranting, I'm not very social media savvy, and it's not that I don't understand it; it's that I'm not interested in it, right. and it's not good given my position, obviously, in life. Like, but it's not me. You know, and I struggle a lot with trying to respect me first before I respect any other outside view, because I love myself first. And, you know, and that took a lot of hard work of changing the algorithm to even get to that spot. So when I saw those statuses, to me, it was, you know, I think for somebody else, they would use like an expression, God speaking through someone else. But to me, it was law of attraction. I agree. I agree with. You know, you asked a particular question. I would be lying if I said I remembered the exact thing, but I remembered the emotion. That's right. Fair. And the emotion behind it was, yo, he asked, if I don't, then I'm a dickhead to myself, right? And that's pretty much how I took it. So I responded, right? And as you said, there was no negativity. So when you responded back, it was like, oh, hey, this individual actually appreciates my engagement as well. So then it became a routine for me. I actually spent the following days throughout that week looking forward to each post you had, each question you proposed, and it became a thing for me, man. So I appreciate that. But for the past 2 weeks, though, I went back into that void. Though I went back into that. I can't be on Facebook. It's too much for me.
It is, and I like since then, because you've noticed I slowed down a lot. We started the Hurry Up and Wait podcast. I did a guest spot for, I think it's called a good podcast, GUD podcast, and it's a group of friends that used to have like their own entertainment, like filming and acting and all this stuff, and they just used to do it for fun. And they all decided like, hey, let's get our shit together and let's start a podcast.
Oh yeah, I remember you saying that. Yeah.
So that's what they did. They started a podcast and they had me on as one of their first guests, and I heard myself back in the microphone for the first time. I was like, ugh, that's what I sound like? Well, no, that's what you sound like after I've edited you. I was like, oh man, that's what I needed to hear. But I kind of got this bug in me to like, well, maybe people would want to hear my voice. I don't know. I've been told I have a radio voice. I don't agree with it, but I've been told I have one.
Yeah, when I listen to the podcast, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
God, I hate it.
See, in my mind, to this day, I still sound like a fifth grader. You know, my voice never changed after fifth grade. Like if fifth grade came, and my voice is still there. I know. Usually, like my shorty, she'll be like, "Your voice is mad deep." Like, not to me. I'm embarrassed to talk. I feel like somebody is with me standing next to the jungle gym.
Dude, so that's crazy. You say that you're embarrassed to talk. So like, I live with two other drummers. Like, so it's my house has always been like a house of musicians, but one has a very, very, very high pitched voice. So like, he's been very self conscious about his voice in general for hell as long as I've met him, which is probably like close to 15 years ago. Like, but as long as I've known him, he has been very self conscious about his voice. He was actually the first person to like tell me like, hey, we should start a podcast. And my whole thing was, well, if you want to start a podcast, you start a podcast. I don't have anything to talk about, so I don't mind being a guest and helping push your podcast, but I don't want to be on a podcast with you because I don't have any ideas of things that I want to do. Go figure, fast forward, X amount of years, and I actually have my own podcast now. But like, it's funny you say that because I've known more MCs who are very self-conscious of their voice, and I never understood the struggle until I heard myself back for the first time.
Yeah, it's not good for me, man. No, because I'm way too self-aware, so it's not good for me. Not at all. Again, I don't hear the deepness. Like, even now, obviously, as I have this headset stuck to my ear, feeding back to me, like all I hear is the playground. Yeah,
I'm like, for me, it's a weird thing. I get this. One of the things that my parents told me when I was young, or my mom specifically told me, was, you're going to speak well. And it never kind of registered until I was somewhere around like 20, I want to say I was probably 19 or 20. And I just started realizing this mind fuck that was happening with people. Because they would instinctively like look at me and they'd have this image of like what I'm going to sound like or what I'm going to be like before they ever talk to me. And then I just introduce myself. Hi, my name is, and immediately like, they just go through this, like, I see gears turning where they have to like recalibrate and like,
no, that's not an average nigga.
That's
like, that's pretty
yeah, that's exactly what it is. Like, so all of a sudden it's like, well, I started to get off on this kind of thing. So I was doing like, what was I working? I was doing, I was selling cell phones out of the Parks Mall. This group called the Mobile Solution. So our jobs were, so as far as you are to me is as far as like, if my hand is on the kiosk, this is you are as far as I can leave the kiosk. So I have from here to that wall to kind of come up with a backstory to get you to stop there so that we can have a conversation and not even try to sell you a phone, because everybody wants a phone because they need phones. It's just something they need. Is if they want one, they're here, they're going to get one. My goal was just to get people to stop. So I had to come up with like full backstories as to like who they are, what they're about. And I basically just had to judge people from face value and figure out like, am I right or am I wrong? And I would just blurt things out just to get people to stop. Like if I see a a chick who's like the guy's trying to hold her hand and she's not trying to have her hand be held, or she looks embarrassed. Like, I'll just come up with something on the fly, like, "Hey girl, it's all right. You can love on that man. Ain't nobody watching." And she'll just start giggling, and he'll be like, "Oh, thank God somebody else said it." It's like, "Yeah, man, I said that. It's all good. It's a good look though." Like, just I'm basically just hollering at people on a daily. And every now and again I'll get them to stop, and once they stop, they realize, like, wow, like yeah, I know, it's all good. What type of phone do you have? You want to play with any of these? Like, they're all hooked up, ready to go. Play with the sidekick. Now, this was a mistake that you remember the sidekicks, how they used to flip out?
Absolutely. I was crazy about the sidekick.
Best phone I ever had for like 2 weeks.
I had a homie hand me down one.
Oh.
But by the time I got it from him, it was obsolete. I think the Razor came out.
Razor came out.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was obsolete.
Well, that thing was great. I had that same dude who like went and checked the Razor out, flipped it and broke the actual like the spin knob on the inside, so the display just kind of flew off and like hit a kid. It like hit this kid in the face who was walking the opposite direction.
Yo, I thought the sidekick was crazy. And what was it? It was I remember it was a Droid that came out not that long after that.
It was the first Droid. Really.
It had that same thing going on. I thought those things were crazy. I even thought that. Now, one thing for sure on the subject of phone, obviously rambling, but on the subject of phones, what was it that that HTC 3D phone? I always knew that was trash.
That was garbage.
I always knew that was trash.
For me, it was the Nokia 5300. Now, the Nokia 5300 is probably about the size of this wallet, and you could flip it upwards, and basically had like all the buttons to press like right down here. But if you shut it, it was made to be like a music player. So it was like a first like
my older brother had one, and that's actually how I learned about YouTube, because that's all he did on his.
Yep.
All he did was lay in the bed, like we played Tekken, and he'd be like in the bed behind me while I'm practicing or whatever, and he'd just be YouTubing something. And so I discovered YouTube from him playing on that exact phone.
See, that's crazy. I discovered YouTube when I tried to learn drum licks. Like, I'm trying to learn how to like drum things that people were drumming from like the grainiest of videos, like the worst videos. We're talking like early 2000s. Like, well, not even early 2000s. We're talking like maybe like 2005, maybe 2000. Yeah, about 2005.
Yeah, because I know for me, so I started playing Tekken when Tekken 6 came out.
Eddie Goro.
So I was Lars. I had never had an interest until Lars came out. When Lars came out, then it was Lars Dragunov won me over.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
And what was that? That was a little bit what after the Jeezy Recession album came out, I believe. So yeah, around that time, yeah.
Yeah, dude. Like, God, Tekken. What was your favorite Tekken game in general?
It would have to be 6. So believe it or not, like I said, I didn't play Tekken before. And after I learned how to play, I learned how to play.
Yeah.
And so a little bit after, I got sponsored to actually play Tekken.
Word?
Yeah, in locals, or regionals. And so it was DFW Games. Out of DFW Games, I guess shout out to them if they're still around.
I mean, I would hope so.
But yeah, I played for DFW Games. There's a convention that we have here in Dallas. There's 2 of them. There's A-Fest and A-Con. And so at A-Con, like, DFW Games hosted the actual game room. So I was a part of that until they had like some kind of drama go on. But I had already started to lose my interest in the pro league anyway. So
that's a shame.
It was a very short-lived sponsorship.
That's fair, but God, what a shame, because they are paying dudes to play 2K now.
Oh man, yeah. There's so I don't know if it's true for this past year or the year before, but I know there was 2 years in a row, like not even that long ago, I think like 2017, 2018, like the gaming industry saved our economy.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, that's where the money's at, man.
Oh yeah, like,
especially given this particular kind of situation.
Yeah, dude, with COVID being what it is, like I have gamed more now than I probably ever have.
Man,
so it's
I game, so that's what I do.
I never see. I could play, but I never had the itch to play with other people. Like, I was such a storyline driven or just one-off fighting games. Like I do like your Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom, some Tekken, but it was way more just like let me just lose hours thinking about a story. Like let me, because if you can, I can't read a book, but I can devour comics.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same thing for games. Like unless I'm playing like a My Player on 2K, I would lose interest after like 2 or 3 games. But I could sit there and play Castlevania or Chrono Trigger or any Final Fantasy game for that matter.
For me, what 2, 1, 2, 8, 10, 12, 15. With 15 being the best.
7 is always going to be the best for me.
Let's not do that.
I mean, we could not, and we could absolutely not. But 8.
What'd you think of remake?
Oh, I loved it because it's not a remake. Like it's a continuation of a story.
Right. I always said for years I never was into 7, and I always said for years I was like, when Final Fantasy 7 like does an updated version where it's in 3D, holla at me. But then it finally happened, and it wasn't as enticing as I thought it would be.
That's because you didn't get to any of the fun stuff yet.
I didn't even purchase it like I thought I would. I swore up and down that when the day came, I would be on it. And when it finally came, I had no interest anymore. I'm totally a different gamer at this point.
No, that's fair. I think I got it out of nostalgia because I knew I was gonna get it at some point. So I might as well just go ahead and just buy it early. So when it came out, I had it and I could just breeze through it because I knew there's no way they were gonna be able to give us everything in one drop.
Yeah, because they broke it into 2 parts, right?
So far, it's going to have to be 3 at the very least. And there's probably going to be an additional add-on so you can get to where they have like the chocobo races and things like that.
Chocobos sell Final Fantasy.
Yeah, so I mean, they're gonna have because that was a big part of the original game was going to the flying saucer and playing all the games and the fighting arena and then the actual like chocobo races because you had to race chocobos, so you had to literally raise them and then race them. So that was a big part of like the side missions and the original. So I'm assuming like they're gonna give that arcade that is like their version of Vegas, like its own drop.
Yeah, I did Chocobo races since 10. Like, Chocobo races is what that is, yo. Chocobos sell Final Fantasy, yo.
Who'd have thought Velociraptors would do that for you?
Yeah. Somewhere somebody's gonna hear this and they're gonna be like, these guys did not talk about Chocobos.
Dude, I will talk about Chocobos all day because I love Velociraptors, and that's what Velociraptors were. They were really Chocobos.
I do agree with you too as far as like the since we were on the subject of like the things that we can and can't do. Like, so for me, I actually, I've debated. I'm part of a debate community. I'm part of the Versus community. I am a huge comic book fan myself, and so like, when people acknowledge like comics as something separate from literature, that's always boggled me.
It is literature,
right? Like I don't see how you could separate two. Now I know if you go back to like the beginning stages of comic books versus where the world was at the time, anything that was new was the devil's work. Yeah, I get that, but we're in a different day and age now, right? So literature. I mean, if somebody wrote that story, it has, which you can't write a story without any kind of plot devices anyway. Like, you have some literature. There's no two ways about it, right? So you can, and it's not to offend anybody, but you could be someone who, you don't see the Bible as literature. You see it as like some holy guide or whatever.
That's fair.
It's a first world comic book. I don't care how you look at it. Like, you don't
is.
Like, it's a first world comic book. So that still would fall into the same thing. Somebody wrote that with plot devices, and it's it's literature. Period.
The only reason why I separate them is because like I believe there is literature for an everyday average human being, or so they think they are average. Where I believe the average falls in is for those people who are borderline dyslexic or have ADD, like, and they manage so well that they could pass a test to show that they don't have either.
Right.
Like, I'm one of those.
Right. Let me be one of the first people. Well, I'll probably not, in your lifetime, but that is such a false narrative, man. The way that our society handles that subject, the ADD subject, like, it's why does it have to be some kind of specialized disease when you're boring human beings?
Insurance.
You capitalize it, right?
Yeah,
That's pretty much how everything you capitalize. It doesn't make any sense. Like I remember growing up, man. Before, so at some point in my life, I actually got into psychology, and so that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a relationship counselor, actually. So human behavioral studies was literally all I was ready to encompass leaving the hood, like, period. So, I mean, obviously, the way I talk now is not the way I talked growing up.
Right.
You know? So,
I can't say the same.
So, you know, like I had an associate. I want to say friend, but associate fits better. So there was a young man, obviously on my block, who his mom treated him a certain kind of way because he had ADHD, and I would tell him way before I even started studying the books. Like I was like, that diagnosis doesn't make any sense. You're just a kid who's bored with these things that don't interest you, you know. And as I got older, and then as I got more educated, that was always the conclusion. There's no real argument to be made there outside of you're trying to force people to focus on something that doesn't interest them.
Right. Now, I will say there is something to the ADHD. I don't believe that the attention deficit disorder is a disorder. Like, I don't believe that is a thing.
Let me clarify. That's my argument.
Right.
I don't think the negative the negative ramifications necessarily are the things that the way our society has made them out to be. So to clarify, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Right.
It's not the way that we have learned to handle.
Yeah, I just know, like, I do know that there is a difference between ADHD and ADD. Because, again, I'm very ADD, which means, like, if we were going back to Cro-Magnon days and we're living in a freaking safari, like, everybody's checking out the sunset going, oh, the sunset's beautiful. And I'm the dude going, yeah, but there's a lion right over there.
Right.
Like, y'all checking the sunset out. I see the lion, and I'm going to dip. Why? Y'all are interested in that. I'm interested in surviving. So your ADD characters were your heroes. So when I read comics, I instinctively think that that's who theyese guys were. They're the act first, think later, only because they're thinking ahead of where you are. So what makes a hero a hero? I thought My Hero Academia did a really good job of, like, suggesting, like, what makes a true hero a hero.
I haven't watched the latest season.
Oh, it doesn't even matter. It's so good. God, so good.
I'm not a big anime fan, man. I was, obviously, when I was younger. I went through that phase, but
as a comic fan, you should watch it.
As a comic fan, that's what actually turned me off of anime.
Agreed.
But what actually got me to watch My Hero Academia, obviously last year, what got me to watch it last year was because everyone kept saying that they were like, well, if you like X-Men, you like this. Well, I don't like X-Men, but no, I get your point. And I'll go watch My Hero Academia.
No, I just think, like, the way that My Hero worked was My Hero makes it so palatable to anybody. Like, you can relate to, if you can't relate to the main character, you can relate to another, like, any of the 13, 15 different, like, classmates. Like, there's somebody that you can relate to.
Yeah, it trips me out, man. Obviously, I'm not good with the character names.
That's fair.
But I know Deku, so that's not going to be up for.
That's all that matters.
But the guy, the hero, what was he, like, the number 2, the flame guy?
Yeah.
Right. What trips me out is when people try to sympathize with him. There's no sympathizing with that character. I literally, like I said, I'm part of a debate community, and one of my admins, one of the admins under me, he's in love with this character. Like he thinks this character has the best story because he's so redeemable because of the janky things he did. And it's like, no, bro, I watched that same series. I don't have to read the manga to know that, or manga for whoever that's going to bother, right? I don't have to read that comic in order to understand that this character is
a dick.
Right, like there's no sympathizing with him at all. You can't make up for what he did. Like, he can regret it, but there's no going back to the damage he's already done. Like,
no, it absolutely isn't. But again, the one thing that I loved about that comic was how they differentiated like the trait that makes a hero was, I don't know why, but I feel led to running and stopping this. Like, there's danger there and people need help, and I'm going to go help them. I haven't thought about what I'm going to do when I get there, but my legs are telling me to go this way.
See, and for me as a comic fan, I'm a huge Moon Knight fan. Period. Huge Moon Knight fan. So my hero isn't is it the I'll save your cat out the tree? My hero is the one who'll just run the cat over so you never have to worry about him climbing back up the tree. So, and which is awesome too. Shout out to Marvel Comics because the recent issue actually was amazing. The fight between Moon Knight and Black Panther, and without spoiling anything, the results of how that turned out was really great. I read that day before yesterday. It was awesome.
I just can't wait for the movie. Like they've already given us, they gave us Deadpool in the right way. So they've shown me that they can do a Moon Knight movie.
Yo, my biggest issue is that I think it's great that instead of if I understand correctly, he'll get a series in a movie. Yes. And so my biggest thing is I'm worried as a fan. I'm worried about which writer you're following, right? Because I would rather you follow Warren Ellis or Jeff Lemire, right? And the casting and the outfit, because not every MCU outfit has landed. Yeah, it's just no. And if you look at the Netflix series, which wasn't connected to the MCU at the time, but I think maybe they're doing something to connect them now.
They're trying.
And when you look at having Daredevil in his starter outfit, which was the all black, which was a callback to the comics, great. You did phenomenal there. You skipped over the yellow red.
Thank God.
Cool. That was nobody wanted to see that on camera.
Yellow red.
But when you introduced the suit that he did get made in the series, he was barely in it.
Right.
That was I'm watching this for the hero. I'm watching this for the vigilante. I'm not watching this for the actor, and that becomes kind of I don't know. That really deters me from a lot of the things that they do with these series. It's not to say Daredevil wasn't a great series. It was a great series. The last season was phenomenal. That was
the best out of the Defender series.
Yo, we don't even want to talk about Iron Fist. Oh, so bad.
They just swung and missed.
Bad.
They swung and missed.
Jessica Jones, so bad. Jessica Jones wasn't as bad as Iron Fist, but it was not good.
No, they had the best. I think Jessica Jones had the best character casting, but it had the worst execution.
Yeah, I have nothing to add to that. Yeah, that's pretty much.
I think that was because I remember looking at that going, yeah, that's Jessica Jones.
See, and that's my fear for Moon Knight, because I'm a huge Moon Knight fan, and I feel like they'll fail on the costume. The actor recently that went in apparently for the casting, I'm not sure what his name is, but his face though, I remember he I don't know if he is or he looks like the dude who does the Geico horrible commercials where accidents happen or whatever. And it's like, yo, that's not the face of Moon Knight. Like, you need to get Eric Winter from, I don't know if anyone has ever watched The Rookie. Eric Winter from The Rookie. Perfect.
Great.
Or the kid from SEAL Team. Like, yo, those are the two perfect Moon Knights. They're at the right age. They have the right look. They have the right build. They already have the physicality, the workout techniques for choreographing. Like, these are the perfect actors to play this character, because the characters that they've played before, just about embody the personalities that Mark is going to have anyway. Right. And then that's another fear I have too. Because Moon Knight was fixed at one point in the comics. He was great, and then it went to this point where they started doing this, he's a crazy man thing, and he has this multiple personality disorder problem.
Yeah, that's when I started reading, unfortunately.
Right, and it was like you convoluted what the actual issue was. You got away from the fact that it was actually a god in his head messing with him consistently and making his issues of being in touch with reality harder than it was, right? To get him to do what the God wanted him to do. And all of a sudden it was just, oh no, he's crazy, and the dude thinks he's a little girl. It was like, yo, where did you?
Yeah, that's why I got in and I got immediate out. Like, nope.
So yeah, and then Warren Ellis came back, fixed Moon Knight, made it. Literally, when you read the Warren Ellis run from All New, All Different in Marvel now, like when you read that, it looks page to page like you're watching a Netflix series. So it's like, that's the Moon Knight you should focus on. But then Jeff Lemire came behind it and he fixed the mythos. Yeah. And he explains that Khonshu was higher than Odin, and when it comes to like Sky Fathers and stuff, like, obviously talking comic books. Yep. So it was really good, and I really hope that they stick to those things. You don't have to, everything doesn't have to be fan service. You know,
Right.
but you can deter new fans too, you know, casual viewers. You can deter them from simply just not knowing how to properly handle the character. And that's my biggest fear, because I saw it happen with Iron Fist, Defenders, as you said, which was.
I guess the thing was those weren't done by Marvel Studios either. So
Yeah.
that was kind of the other thing. So I think everything going forwards, because I'd have to look up like what roster Fox even has to this day now, because I think Disney pretty much owns.
It's
most of it, if
Fox
not
Studio
all of it.
21.
Yeah, well, they've still been going. The back and forth is still happening with what characters can be used and who's selling. They were pretty much selling characters like freaking like cards back in the day.
Yeah, for when the comic crash happened.
Yeah, so like it's like that's. So I'm more anxious to see what studio puts it on. So if Marvel Studios, aka Disney, puts it on, I'm more inclined to trust a movie over a series.
Yeah. See, and I'm hyped for this series. I
want this.
Admittedly, I'm hyped.
I want a great series. I'm just saying, like Disney.
The movie's not gonna fail.
No, the movie's not. Like,
The movie's not gonna
Marvel
fail.
movies, they know how to get me hooked on a villain.
Yeah, that's yo. So, and for me, I think that's too. I think they're gonna nail. I also think they're gonna nail the movie because of what you just said. Because Mark borders that line, and I've never seen Marvel handle a villain badly. Like,
No.
I've never seen it. Like, if you could point it out to me, everybody's more than welcome to try. Like,
No, there hasn't been a single Marvel villain that I haven't like been able to empathize with.
right? I loved James Spader as Ultron. That was perfect casting.
It was, and that was the hardest one for me to believe. But it's like, I'm watching a movie. I'm in it. But outside of that, it's like I still walked away going, okay,
Yeah,
I'm ready.
His voice as Ultron just too good.
Oh yeah, that's like just me thinking about Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger. Like,
Oh, you know what? So let's do this, right? People will probably appreciate this. Were you pro Killmonger or not?
absolutely.
I'm not pro Killmonger.
I mean, I very much was pro Killmonger. Like, I mean, the breakdown of, I understand Martin Luther King's approach. I also understand Malcolm X's approach.
And I'm a Malcolm X guy too.
Well, that's the crazy part. Like, in my head, it's like, how could you be a Malcolm guy and not appreciate the Killmonger approach?
Because there's great things that the movie accomplished that I don't even think they realized they put in the movie. So there are scenes, not based on any outside opinions, based on what happens in the movie, where T'Challa literally addresses Killmonger in the end fight on the train tracks, right? Where he literally tells him, "You became the exact people you hate," right? That one statement that came in the movie, all the context is there if you go backwards from it, right?
Yep.
So Killmonger was saying this whole venture was about liberating his people. But let's jump again, right? Let's go back and then let's jump. Let's jump to when Ross, literally the moment where they're bringing T'Challa back, right? When he explains that Killmonger was literally trained to conquer and crush empires.
Yeah.
Right. You didn't have to go to Wakanda to save your people.
Correct.
Right. So not only did you do the horrible things that you did, you went and ruined a nation that was everything you wanted your people to have. Mm-hmm. Right. You didn't have to do that. Right. Let's go back from that. Let's go literally to when he shot his girlfriend. So you were willing to kill those same people you're talking about saving. So it wasn't about your people at that point when you shot her. Let's not even talk about that.
It's about the end game.
Right. When you killed not only your uncle, when you killed or when you threatened your auntie.
Yeah.
Right. And then you burned up the herbs, right? Like, you didn't care about none of the things you said you cared about because it was all about your agenda. It had nothing to do with what the actual end game was.
Right.
Right. You were out to hurt blacks, whites, Wakanda, whatever. You were out to hurt everybody who was in the way of your vision.
And it was the complexity of that is what I loved about it. It was, yes, I understand that is what he is going to do because they gave us the background. They showed us the training. They gave us all the knowledge that we needed to know to where he's going to see what he wants to see and he has his eyes on one target and he's going to take it. The rationale of what got him there is what made it all worthwhile to me. Like, yeah, that didn't have to happen to him, but it did.
Right. And so for me, I think for your guys' side of the table, right? The pro Killmonger. It's not that I don't understand too, because 100% it's the black anger. That's what it is.
Yep.
In the bottle, without beating around the bush, it's the black anger in the way that like a lot of us would like to handle the situation. We like to be like, yo, like why you didn't come save us? But I'm also understanding of what T'Challa's saying, and I wholeheartedly agree. Like we're not the same people, right? Like so, I've got a lot of ridicule for saying this to among associates, people that I associate with every day. Like that whole argument about going back to the motherland, that makes no sense to me because I don't come from the motherland, right? Every time that you say African American, you're discrediting all of my ancestors, right? Because my ancestors helped build this country. Right. So I'm Afro-American. I'm not African-American. You're saying I'm a part of another country before I'm a part of this one. Right. Like but I've never been there. And my history is here. So why would you try to take that away from me? And when T'Challa literally says that, when he literally says in the movie, like, they're not us, right? First off, Africa is not Wakanda. Right. Wakanda is Wakanda. Blacks are not Wakandan. So don't come here with that, right? We made for our own. If you really wanted for your own, make for your own. You have all the tools. And, that's another thing for me, too, because Killmonger did, as I said before, like, you knew how to topple empires, and you clearly proved it in the movie you could. Like, as a solo man, you could have went everywhere else in the world and then did America last. Yep. Right. You could have literally unified Nobunaga. Right. Yep. You could have unified us. All of us, right? But you chose not to, and you didn't share none of those tools with those same people. So I can't be.
I just hate that he died.
I can't be proved.
I hate that he died.
Well, it was always inevitable that he was going to die.
The way the movie was paced, yes, I get it. But even through the comics, like, he lived for a while. Like after the T'Challa fight, he lived for a while.
Yeah, because then he fought the Avengers. Then his cat died. I think that's what hurt me about the movie. He didn't have his cat. Yep. But the callback on the suit, I thought was like, okay.
Yeah, I appreciated that, and nobody else, and I knew no one else in the theater appreciated it. That's right. I also appreciated the Vegeta get up too.
I saw that article where he was a fan, and he was like, he had to have it.
Oh yeah, I went and did the whole I got his costume for Halloween a couple years ago. I just started growing my dreads.
That just be so sick.
So like that was pretty dope. It's like I actually do feel the Vegeta. Like, yeah, that's perfect.
So are you reading that comic right now?
Which ones?
The super comic going on. Stuff with Moro.
No, I haven't.
Oh yeah, I think Vegeta might get some love. I think he might
for the first time ever.
He kind of took an L, but it was dope though. I'm not a Dragon Ball fan, but I thought it was dope.
I'm just saying Vegeta always takes L's, man. Like that dude was made.
I mean, he ain't never took one to Goku, so.
Fair, yeah, actually.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, the fights never end.
Right, so.
Actually, I think he's up one on Goku.
Might be. And for me, I think even not being a fan.
Yeah, he killed him. So yeah, he's up one. Majin.
What was it?
He had to come back. Well, I guess granted, he was already dead.
The Beerus introduction, when Beerus slapped his woman and he was like, he was ready. I thought that was dope. I was like, Goku didn't do all that.
Nope, Goku's too fun loving, and I don't know. He's such a great guy.
He's just not a good hero.
Vegeta is that dude. I always thought Gohan was great until he grew up to be a little punk.
Yeah. Gohan actually just shined in the story. He actually did.
I hope so. Like Gohan is due. Like everybody forgets. Like
you want Saiyaman to come back, don't you?
No, I don't. I hate like Saiyaman was a downfall.
Let's switch the I guess the conversation, because obviously I listened to the other podcast too. So how are you feeling about the irony of Trump catching the COVID-19?
Okay, yeah, I was about to say it. I'm just gonna. I love it. I love the idea behind it. It's great.
Yeah, some of the things I'm seeing in the feeds are cruel, man. Like,
they are. And I'm not up there just because I need my conscience clear. I just think it's incredibly funny and ironic that this happened, like so close after the debate. The worst debate I've ever watched in my life.
I see people keep saying that, but everybody forgot about like the Democratic debate with all what was it like 8 of them up there, 10 of them up there, like just
that was
horrible.
Better yet, I've never seen a one-on-one debate go so poorly.
Not a president, like
not a presidential debate.
Yeah,
I've never seen one go so poorly. So for me, it was like I've never been just more drawn in the sand. I'm like, now at this point, I'm kind of looking for something bad to happen to Biden, and I'm looking for something bad to happen to Trump, and I'm wondering who's going to happen to first. Why? Because at this point, like you're picking you're just either picking an apple or you're picking an orange at this point.
It's
like, and then that happened. It's like, oh, I woke up with a smile on my face, and I'm not even lying. Like I legit woke up with a smile on my face. Like, well, that's what you get.
Yo, it was a lot of news anchors. Like I don't care what they say. Yo, you could definitely tell. Like they were like, yeah, this is a I told you so moment.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know what to say about it. I don't know what to say about it. Personally, I think it is irony, period. And so, like,
me of irony.
So it's like it speaks for itself. You know what I mean? But as far as like, I don't know. I can't bring myself to wish death upon the man. You
Never.
know? Especially strongly for me because I survived COVID-19. I had COVID-19. I survived it. He survived it. It's like it's not something that's you know. It's not easy, man. So I really feel bad for the dude because when it kicks in, like, you know, they're saying he's starting to show the mild symptoms before I got here. It's like when it kicks in, it's gonna be bad, bro. For me, it was 4 days. I know for some other associates, they were saying like it's 3 days. Like it's gonna be bad, bro. It's not good. It's not like a fever. You know, it's horrible. It feels like death.
See, this is crazy. Like knock on wood. Like I'm that dude who's like I get a cold a year. Like I'm that guy. Like that's because I smoke. Like I get the smoker's cough every year, and that's all I get. Like I got the chicken pox twice, which apparently like is a weird thing.
I didn't realize it was possible.
I didn't either, but I got it twice. But outside of that, like I get a cold every year, and that's it. Like I've never had the flu.
Yeah,
I've never had.
I definitely don't get sick like that. I don't know.
I've never had. So like in my head, it's like, oh, I'm just living in this blissful, like, oh, there's this thing that's happening. Oh, all right. Well, that sucks for people who don't have my immune system. I really feel for them, but I have a hard time empathizing with people because I've never had anything worse than a cold.
Yeah.
At least to my knowledge. I mean, I've had a stomach bug. That's because, you know.
Yeah, it's not. Oh man, COVID-19 is not like that.
That's the thing. Like, I don't know, and it's hard for me to empathize, and that's the
without the experience,
right? And that's a really hard thing for me because I'm a very empathetic human being. Like, I feel for people, and I want to feel for people, but that is one thing that I'll never be able to because everybody who says that they've never had anything like it ever, and it's like I hear that.
So if somebody's told you that, it's the truth, bro. It's the like.
Oh, I'm just saying, like, I've never even come close to that level of to even rationalize. Well, it's worse than. It's like I never had the than. Like whatever follows after you say than this, I never had this.
Yeah, like I would say like so for me, like, you know, there was people who were like, oh, you had it, or oh, you someone in your family had it, and you know. Yeah, well, you know, I had it too, and it was like, it's just a bad fever. No, you didn't have it. You probably legit only had a fever. Like,
right.
If you had COVID-19, you would know. Like you would know.
When Russell Westbrook came out and said, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me, I took it seriously.
Yo, what's the English guy name that's basically English Trump? Like, when he had it, you know, like, it changed his entire perspective. Like, yo, it's not. It feels like death, bro. I think for me, like, it wasn't even the first 4 days because they were the worst, but it was the days that followed after. It was like I couldn't eat, right? Look at me, like, so like there's no I can't eat. Like I put this weight back on. I was down, yo. I was small. Like all I did was sweat, like off on. It was nothing I had ever experienced, and I wouldn't even wish it on my worst enemy because it's like whatever I assume death creeping in is like, that's what that if that's what those emotions were, right? To have COVID-19, to be sitting in the bed, like in my own sweat, just drenched, like not even. I always thought there was some exaggeration. You know, people be like, "Oh yeah, I got a fever and I was drenched in sweat." I always thought it'd be like, "Yeah, you wasn't drenched in sweat," but I get your point. Like, no, man, like from head to toe, literally puddles. Like it was really bad. Like, and I remember trying to eat a sandwich. I was telling him I remember trying to eat a sandwich, and like I nibbled it. I'm not a nibbler. Like, I didn't eat for days. Then when I tried to eat, it was just it wasn't like a puking thing. It was just like. You know, I think some people were saying like they lose taste. Like, I didn't lose taste until literally like I was asked, did I lose taste? But I had it the whole time up until that point, and it was like even then with the taste still, food just seemed like something that was never substance. Right. It's horrible, bro. It's not. And I think what was annoying to me after I caught it while I was in the midst of it was that people, you know, they kept saying like, it's not real. You know, I remember when the announcements for the shutdown first happened, I had one of my closest associates, like I can actually say friend, one of my closest friends and my business partner actually, because I started a comic company.
That's right.
He literally like had it that night. That night he had it when the shutdown was announced. And he was on quarantine. And so, you know, that was scary because it was like, yo, it's one thing for you guys online to be joking about this. Another thing, like, for me to have to sit here and FaceTime this man and look at him start the effects. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's not, man. Again, me just living in my own false sense of reality with the whole, like, I just never get sick thing. So I never thought it was fake. I just thought, if I get it, then I get it. But chances are I probably won't. Knock on wood. So I remember I was in jail because of my DUI when COVID struck. So like legit, like I'm in like minimum security, just watching the screen because as soon as I get released on this Friday, I'm driving to Austin and I'm gonna go play South by. And I've got a gig Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I was gonna drum at a Spurs game Thursday. Had a gig Friday, had a gig Saturday. I had a chick from Miami who was flying up, so she was gonna pay me for every single appearance. And we were gonna bus and make more money. I'm like, yes, sold. So I'm in jail just waiting, just watching the days go by. And then South by shuts down. Okay. Well, that sucks.
Some people just don't understand how the hurt from not being able to go to South by,
and not even just going, but getting paid to go.
Oh man, the whole nine.
Oh my God.
The whole nine. South by is such an experience, man.
Oh, it's insane. So I'm even after getting out, I'm like, all right, well, South by is canceled. At least I've got this Spurs game to look forward to, and that was an easy couple $100. Like, all right, NBA's just canceled their season. Oh, okay. Well, hopefully venues aren't going to shut down. So we're going to go into a lockdown. It's worked in like Europe and they've been doing it for like a couple months now. It's like, well, hold on. They've been doing something for a couple months and we're not even going, not even going to go there. Okay. So when they say lockdown, what do they mean? So no people can get together or you can only have like a group of like 5 to 6 people who can get together, but they have to be 6 feet apart from each other. It's like, okay, so that eliminates like practices. How am I going to drum? Like, how am I going to teach? It's like, all right, well, there's this thing called Zoom that we're going to be using. So I had to teach kids from Zoom, like through the entire quarantine. Meanwhile, I'm just like dying because I, along with so many people, we're just missing out on opportunities. I don't personally, like outside of you two, I don't know anybody who's had COVID. Like, I just don't. I know people who've been affected by other people that have it, but none like that I know firsthand. So it's like, all right, well, I mean, I acknowledge that this thing is a thing, but man, I just want to like.
It's the world against you for sure.
That's how it felt. And I'm trying not to be super selfish about it, but that's definitely how it felt.
No, I mean, well, you know, myself included. Each person's struggle is their struggle. Period. You know what I'm saying? And you know, it sucks that you are a bystander while the rest of the world stays vulnerable. You know,
right? And I'm just watching like, Doc, I understand and I appreciate like everybody trying to be conscious about it, and then here comes the negativity, and it's like, you know what? I gotta get back on my thing, because every time I open up Facebook, like it's just like COVID's fake, wearing a mask doesn't help. It's like, oh my God, we're the dumbest country on the planet. We are literally
That's how it felt, man. It felt like the more you saw people like refute it, is like, what are you fighting? It's like, it doesn't care what your status is.
It doesn't. Like when I legitimately heard that it went against their civil born rights as Americans, that they did not have to wear a mask. Like, it was a right that they did not have to wear a mask. I'm like, that's what we really want to argue about right now.
Yeah, because
that's what we want to argue. And they were legit argument. And I'm just like, yo, I can't even deal with social media right now.
Those things are hard for me, man. Like, the social consciousness period. Again, like things like social media, man, are a real struggle for me. And then the politics too. So, because of that particular subject, I'm what you would call a moralist progressive.
That's
what I
fair.
mean? So I'm not left wing. I'm not right wing. I'm all about what's morally
correct.
Period.
Yeah.
Right. And I am about progression. So I'm a moralist progressive. So when these social consciousness, the social consciousness for the right becomes the stereotype that it is, it's like, I don't understand how you think the left side is the dumb side. I don't get it.
I've never understood it.
Right, I don't get it. Now left side extremists, of course, and that's not meaning like those people who are doing the violence in the marches or whatever, because that's necessary. I don't see how anyone in this country could ever argue that those things are necessary given the history of this country. Fair. Right? Especially since it actually got attention, so it did its job. It doesn't even matter if it was, if it was a state plant or a government planted individual who did it. It still got your attention, and it got you talking about the subject that needs to be talked about.
It was, but yes, I agree.
Right, like so. The fact that the conversation is focused where it needs to be, like there's a silver lining, right? And so for moralists, that's pretty much where I assume my cult of personality sits, right? Mm-hmm. Like we sit in a place where there has to be that double perspective and the truth in the middle, and here's the silver lining. If we can present it on both sides, that's what's worth talking about, not your rights being taken away because these people are concerned with keeping you alive so you continue to enjoy those rights.
Right.
Just dumb.
It is. The whole process is just like, it's I feel like we're just living in a state of idiocracy. You remember that movie?
I mean, I know the word, the definition, like in and out, yo. So
watch the movie if you ever get a chance. So watch them. Like it's.
I feel like I have seen it.
You probably
sure.
have. You just would. It'll make more sense now than when it came out. Like, I mean, we were kids when it came out. So I mean, no, there's no way a TV star is gonna be like president.
Yeah, I mean,
just let that point alone.
And what's crazy is you would think that you do history, and one of our previous presidents was a movie star.
Yeah, movie star, not a TV star.
Yeah, and then wherever you put the bar.
Well, I'm just saying, like detail wise, like if you go back and watch the movie, like on a detail wise, like, funny jokes from the 80s.
So celebrity, period. You would have never thought. You wouldn't assume a celebrity would, run a country, but
no, I mean it has been done before. Yes, and that was like, yes, we all, yeah.
I mean, I think Arnold shook everybody up the hardest.
Arnold and Jesse Ventura.
Yeah.
Arnold and
Jesse seemed to have made sense though. Arnold was it was mind blowing.
It came out of nowhere for me. Like Jesse had always been on the scene, like conspiracy wise, and pointing out different things and within politics.
I mean, suing other officials, that was him.
I knew to expect that, but I never thought like I would get what I got once he got in office. Man, like I don't know if you've ever read any of his books. But
I haven't. I've seen so many of his interviews though. Well, not even Well, yeah, I guess you would say interviews. Yeah, because I learned about the lawsuits he had going on before he ever even got on the political chart himself. Like, dude's crazy about that life. Like, so you knew, like you said, you knew.
Oh yeah,
like what Mr. Ventura was going to do. You knew, but Arnold though, like Arnold, that was for him. It's that American dream lived.
He encompassed what I believe to be California. Like when he got elected, and he showed up with like the Jay-Z Hawaiian looking shirt on. I'm like, that is exactly what I believe like Californians are like.
Yo, man, we just left Cali and. That's a weird place, man.
It is.
It's a weird place. Like the richest, I can't get over this. The richest area had a Jack in the Box that accepted food stamps.
Right.
And I thought that was crazy. I was like, why would the richest area accept the food stamps? Like, yeah, I get what game you're playing it, right? Right. Nobody's gonna do this here, right? Okay. I should have came with some stamps.
Like now I know I'm applying when I come back.
Yo, that was mind blowing. And then, but also at the same time, it probably wouldn't even make a difference. California is so expensive, man. And it's like you don't think you have all the answers to why you have this homeless pandemic. It's bad. It's a horrible place to look at, man. If I'm being honest, it's not. I'm pretty sure for like California natives, they're like, oh, it's Cali, man. It's home. It's all. Yeah, where the beach is, it's nice, but
yeah, you get to where the hills are, and it ain't so nice.
Yeah, like the inner city. We were LA. We were in LA. Like, oh man, no, son. Like, it's almost segregated.
Dude, so I almost made the move. This would have been early this year, like early January. Like I almost made the move out there.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I'm glad it didn't happen.
No.
I mean, like I had a pretty awesome job. It's the same job that I had here, working for Lone Star Percussion. They have a store in Cali, and I was gonna go out there and work with the Cali store. It's like, fresh location, fresh place, new beginning. And very rarely as an adult do we ever get like new beginnings.
No, that's facts.
So, and I was like, I've got X amount of time left on my probation from the DUI. Like, you know what? I can finish my probation out there, start over fresh. I didn't really have much going for me here at the time. And I had a couple bands, but outside of that, I was like, there's nothing really anchoring me here anymore.
I think that type of choice comes from if you don't have like a load of kids, you can just get up and move and do that. Because it's expensive. That living it, I don't see how people do it, man.
I don't either. Like,
it's really expensive.
It wasn't until I crunched numbers and I was like, yo, I don't know how I'm gonna make like I'm gonna have to hustle the way that I do here just because I just want to have extra money. Like the things that I want to do just because I love performing, like I have to charge for, which means like, God, like for me to do a hip hop set, like I'm gonna have to charge your ass. Like, like I'm doing hip hop sets here.
That's
for like
one
25.
great thing though, because if you do hip hop, well, we finally made it to the hip hop stuff, right? Like if you do hip hop out there, yo, you gotta get paid because everybody, it's like Deep Ellum on a Friday night. Like it's everybody and their mama is a rapper.
That's how it's gone. And like here I've been so benefited to like, because I started drumming in a hip hop group. So like I was already like ingratiated around certain hip hop artists. So I was like, all right, well, this is easy. Like, what do you charge? Like, I don't know, man, give me like $50. Like that's virtually nothing. I mean, hell, if you do your job right as the artist, just by you performing and stating that you performed at certain venue, you're already getting paid. Like that doesn't have anything to do with the promoter like paying you out for being there. That's just you having your music licensed. All you have to do is just claim that you played at a specific place and you can get paid. It may not be much, but it's something. So it's like, yeah, if you can't come up with $50 to pay a drummer, then you really don't need one.
Yes, that's something too, man. That is a huge problem in hip hop. Period. In the hip, well, not hip hop, but in the music scene. Period. But as far as Dallas hip hop goes, so there's no. Everybody has the answers, but nobody wants to share that information.
Yeah.
And it's like you're creating a negative zone when you say, well, if you pay me for this, I'll hook you up with whatever bit of information, like it's some infomercial. Like, don't you think if you told that person how to make money, they'd have money to give you?
Right.
Like this logic you're using is why you're broke yourself.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have anything. You're not capitalizing on anybody that you could have helped make capital.
Right.
Like, so I don't get it, man. It was really hard for me, because I started out homeless. I was doing the battles downtown Dallas with all the freestyling and stuff, and that's how I had to make a name for myself.
Oh, like the rip the mic things and that.
Way before that. Way before.
I'm chronologically placing things.
So for me, I was homeless on the streets, like, and then it was like I need to do something, right? I need to do something to get back in the fight. So I started working on spitting, right? I never took music serious like that. Right, like I'm from the hood. Everybody in the hood rapped. Like something you did with your friends, right? So it's in us, right? So like, but it was like, yo, maybe I could do something with this. If I just create a sound that's my own, like maybe I could do something with this. And I worked on bar setups all the time. So battling is how it started for me. And so I would battle like everyone. Literally, you can't even go downtown Dallas now and see that type of thing. Like, I shut all that down. There was no human being who ever walked that plane, like that plane of land, like in this city when I was there can say that, because before me, that's all you saw. Like literally, after me, none of that. Like it don't exist anymore. So, made the name for myself. Then started to do the ciphers, and I'll never forget. Shout out to Malek. For even giving me the opportunity, Fever. Like they gave me the opportunity. I went to South by Southwest, like did the video, the DFW Cypher came out. That was already big, which is a credit they don't get. They started that. Like after the Mavericks won the playoffs, like they started that. So doing that was a huge platform for me. I went to what if I'm correct, I went to the last DFW Elements of Hip Hop that was hosted here. Yeah. And big opportunities came for me for that, but there was never anyone teaching anything. Throughout my entire career, there was never anyone teaching anything until I got with Two Code Syndicate, then U-Dog, obviously shout out to U-Dog. He put me on the correct way. Right. And he told me it was about mingling with people. So that thing that I had just so happened to stumble into was the right way to do it, Right. And I was already a humble person. Like I didn't have that rapper ego. I'm an MC anyway. Like I don't have a rapper ego. So, once I learned how to actually market, make money from it, right? I didn't have to perform in like hole in the walls. Like I performed in art galleries. Like it was amazing. I got to do poetry for the city. Like it was,
you got to live like an MC should.
Right. Like so it was great. But through those things, I consistently saw like there was never anybody teaching things, but there was always somebody criticizing.
Oh, always.
Always criticizing like other local artists and so on and so forth. Maybe even me behind my back, not to myself. Matter of fact, I know there's a big name in the city that we all know. I'm not even going to mention it because I don't want that controversy, but like, controversy for him. But there was a big name dude that we all respect. I don't care who you are, you respect this individual. He's a big name, like way outside local stuff. And I remember he stopped me and he was telling me, he was like, yo, there's a lot of people who are pushing for you like not to be a part of the scene. And coming from that individual, that was pretty huge because it was like, yo, he didn't have to say that to me. First off, I'm a nobody in his face. Like
that's respect.
Yo, and so like, and then for him to say that, it was like, yeah, I can also understand that too because that's what it feels like here. It feels like there's no one pushing for the underdog here.
Never. And this is also the same town that didn't get behind Badu until Badu went to New York.
Yeah.
We had Ja Born on a couple like episodes on.
I was tuned in,
dude. Like hearing that story about how the neo soul genre is a DFW staple. Like that started here in the DFW. Like that is a DFW sound. Like hearing that in a nutshell, it immediately takes me back to this idea that like Badu tried that sound here and was getting booed out of venues and was appreciated in New York.
Now you can't talk to any, not no Negroes here. You're not gonna talk to anyone, and they don't have no major respect for Miss Badu.
Right. You can't, and it's like so it kind of established a staple that in order to get that respect here, you have to get out of here to get it. And I've always tried to go against that grain. But even now, I'm starting to understand, like, there's something about being a Dallas-based musician and not an artist from Dallas. Like, there's this huge difference in the verbiage, and like the city has love for us. It's the people who are also grinding that seem to forget that. So even when I brought up the idea of like people explaining how they get things, or for me, it's common knowledge, and it's not something that I keep to myself. And clearly, I would just state it out on here. It's like, if anybody's listening and you're an MC, like, please note that you should find a way to capitalize on your product, whether so that way you don't have to wait on promoters to get you that money. Like, you can take care of that just from saying, I played at this venue, my music was played here, because technically it happened. Like, thus, you got to get paid. That's what your BMI is, what your ASCAP is for. And those are just like two of the easier methods of getting that money. There's also YouTube streams. It's a whole business aspect behind it. And I only know this because I just so happen to be around other MCs and they just talk about it. Like, so for me, it's like, if y'all will talk to me about this, like, why don't y'all communicate with each other? Like, why isn't this community stronger? And that's because everybody's trying to be the next one. Everybody wants to be the next one.
You just spoke gospel right there. When I first hit the scene, like, and after the cypher came out, everybody was talking about me, right? Mm-hmm. Like, well, let me say this, because I'm older now, so my perspectives are way different. I care less, but I still have respect for everybody. But there's no such thing as Joey the Bull got on the cypher and he wasn't the best. It's not gonna happen. Like, that's my goal. That I'm pretty sure my peers' goal is to showcase their style, because that's what a cypher is.
Right.
It's mine too, but I want it more than they do. So there's no such thing as like, I'm not standing out on the cypher. It's not gonna happen. So, you know, when that happened, I had all that notoriety, and I had so much respect for the people I had spit with, the things that I got to be a part of when I was in South by, because a lot of those dudes that go to South by are from here, you know. Yep. And so I tried to connect with all of them. I remember I started this thing called the State of the Union, right? Mm-hmm. And that was supposed to be like a DFW unity thing. Like, everybody who's grinding was supposed to get with each other. If this person didn't have a way to record, right, but they produced, right? Oh, get with this individual. Like, I tried to create a network, and I remember a lot of these dudes I had respect for kept telling me, no, don't do it. They kept saying, no. As a matter of fact, I'm 100% sure. I'm not sure what the name of the video is, but that video is on YouTube somewhere, where like I did a whole address trying to talk to everybody here in the city. And it was person after person came on that, because my Facebook page now is in my original page. I actually had hit celebrity status, and then Facebook was saying I couldn't prove I was the celebrity for the ticket, so I couldn't keep my page or whatever. But anyway, on that original page, on that post that the video was made, like, it was so many people coming and saying, hey man, nah, you can't do this. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna work. Did I have to negotiate with you, try to get you to see my vision, instead of getting you to understand, hey, I get it. You was here 2 years before me. It didn't work. Hey, you've learned something in those 2 years.
Right.
Put it back in. As you said, like, there's people who will talk around you and say these things, but they won't go and say it to nobody else, right? Everybody's so, as you put it, everybody wants to be that guy. And that's the great thing. When you leave Dallas, you don't see that. I know when we was in Cali, like, everybody just wanted to be a part of your story.
Right.
There wasn't one person that I network with, because that's the best way to put it, that I network with, that wasn't trying to help me get to somebody else in Cali in the short time we were there. That whole time we were there, person after person kept introducing us to more and more people. I talked to real estate agents.
Yeah, like, why not?
Yo, every person put me on to somebody else. I was meeting somebody. We met the biggest trainer. He doesn't like being called a trainer. What is it he like? We met one of the best fitness gurus in LA, like, celebrity guru, workout guy. Literally told us a story about how he rejected training Drake like, because Drake wanted to come through like his back door. He was like, "No, you come through the front like everybody else."
Oh, of course Drake wanted to go through the back door.
So, like, I'm not touching that. So, but that's literally Now I'm thinking about now I'm thinking about I can't even say his name. Oh boy, that diss Drake. Oh man, somebody's gonna kill me for not saying his name.
Which one?
Pusha T.
Pusha
Now
T,
I'm thinking about
Common.
Pusha T.
I was about to say there's a number of them. Luda.
Oh, Common with the fa la la. Yo,
Yep.
yo. So
Luda with Big Bada Boom.
what is it? Nobody just Drake like Joe Budden did though.
Well, that's
Joe Budden crushed. Oh my
I was about to
god,
say, no one throws a diss like Joe Budden either.
Joe Budden crushed him in all three of them tracks. He crushed him, man.
That's what Budden does though. Budden hates everything.
Budden was in his prime once he got to Slaughterhouse. Once he
Oh,
got
God,
Slaughterhouse,
yeah.
he was in his prime. I know people will say that's not true, but I live, breathe hip hop, bro. I'm telling you, bars is all I care about. Budden never spit at the caliber that he did once he got in Slaughterhouse. Just
I agree.
facts.
And that's crazy thinking about all the tracks that he didn't get on. Like, think about the verses that he did that didn't make the record. Like, oof.
Because
I get chills thinking
everything he was on was sick, man. It was sick.
That's everybody. That's everybody on that. Like, both. They made 2 albums, didn't they?
What is it? And that mixtape.
Yeah, they made 2 in a mixtape.
Yeah.
Like, every single track is fire.
That Rescue Me track?
Yeah.
Yo. Oh, well.
That was one that made me like.
Skylar makes everything awesome, though.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It was one of those, like, that was a track that made me, like, really, like, reevaluate Royce. Like, I had to go back and, like, restudy Royce the 5'9".
Yeah, Royce. All of them, bro, were great.
And I was already a fan of Royce. I just didn't realize how much of a fan of Royce I was.
I became a huge fan of Crooked through
Slaughterhouse, yes.
Yeah. I can see why, M said he's like the most underrated. Like,
He was.
Crooked is definitely
I'd say still
phenomenal.
is.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. But I think Joel Ortiz was probably just shining on all of them when it came to verses. Like,
I also think he had the biggest following at the time. Like, next to Royce.
that would be believable.
Like, next to Royce, only because Royce had his relationship with M. Like, but I mean, outside of that, like, I don't feel like everybody truly respected Royce. And Royce had a fan base, lost a fan base, had a fan base, lost it. He's done that trend so many times that, like, yeah, Joel was like that dude. And Budden's never lost his fan base.
Yeah.
So, like, it was just
That's weird about Joe Budden, too, because his fan base is almost Trumpian.
very
Like,
much so.
Yeah.
Like, they will live and die that Joe Budden is the best rapper to ever grace a microphone.
No matter how many contradictions he had, because I remember listening to like his projects, it's obviously his older projects, and he would talk about like his drug addiction and so on and so forth, or how he treated women. And then when he says something on like his podcast about all these other individuals, it's like, but Budden, you admitted you did that same thing. Nobody calls him out, and it's like I can't listen to this no way. It's already cringy.
They've cleaned up they've cleaned up his podcast a lot.
When you go commercial, you do, yeah.
I wouldn't say like cleaned up that way, but like they've made it to the point where like Joe's able to still be Joe, but it's not so much Joe hates everything.
See, and I thought you were. Oh, well, then we are saying the same thing. Yeah. I feel like once he realized that he branded that podcast, like I feel like Joe just sat back. Now he just says things.
Right.
Yeah, Lori. Yeah, he
that's-
just says things.
Like I just feel like now it's like it's a bit easier to listen to. Like I remember like I got turned off just the way that he would speak about Logic. Like granted, Logic does some things that we all hate. Like yes, I'm over the fact that we get it. You're mixed. Like I get it. Like trust me, if anybody understands the idea of you not being able to fit in with a black crowd or a white crowd, it's a brother who can't fit in with the black crowd or the white crowd. Like I get you. I hear you. I'm tired of hearing it just like everybody else is. But to discredit everything that this dude does stylistically, and even like on a storytelling, or just the album, like conceptual art album wise, like it's baffling that Joe won't give props to somebody who's just as lyrical.
I'm not a fan of Logic. I actually don't think Logic's a lyricist. I think Logic's a rhymer.
I think he is.
Right.
Like, he's very much a rhymer.
Yeah,
But
and
he's
so
but I do like the storytelling that he does.
I went to his concert, the one that was in I think it's Frisco. It was Frisco?
He did one in Frisco and did one in the Bomb Factory. What, 2 years ago?
Yeah, I went to the one in Frisco. very boring performer, but I would never, I would never be like, yo, Logic doesn't deserve the things that he's earned. Like, he earned them. Like,
Right.
there's no reason to downplay that man's accomplishments. I don't understand it. It only seems like our community is big on that, man. Like, I'm a huge fan of you should know, like 3 Days Grace, Breaking
Yeah.
Benjamin. These things inspire me, right? I can't look to no hip hop. And hip hop's pretty much dead right now.
At this point.
I think the most decent thing that's come out was the Nas's album, and I never liked Nas until literally this album he just dropped. So
I need to listen to that still.
it's actually really. I didn't like Nas. This album is really good. So if you already like Nas,
I love Nas.
you're gonna love this album. It's really good.
I love Nas. I legitimately do. I just got stuck. Like when I got on Spotify to check it out, there was the time capsule. I was like, all right, well, let me see. What was I listening to? And then it's just playing through. So I've been literally just listening to this playlist for the past 3 days.
Me, I've been stuck on Depeche Mode, so I've just been listening to Depeche Mode like crazy.
That's so fair. You should check that out if you get a chance. Like whatever your time capsule playlist.
Yeah, that's what mine is stuck on.
Oh, so mine's like
Mine's just stuck on Depeche Mode.
it's like this is, and it sums me up pretty well. Kanye, All That Remains. I hate that the White Stripes are on there because that's just from what I've had to teach at the School of Rock, but it was on my playlist a lot, so I give you that.
No, I'm not mad at you. My daughter probably has a Big Block sing song all through my feed.
Oh my goodness, yes, yep. So it's lots of Kanye, All That Remains, System of the Down, Outkast, D12, more Kanye, some Missy, Kill Switch, Twiddle, more System of the Down, more Kanye. So apparently Spotify's like, yo, this dude really does love Kanye.
I can literally I know mine by heart. It's Depeche Mode, Men at Work. Adam Gantier, who was the lead singer 3 Days Grace, he moved to Saints. So it's I don't know how to pronounce their group name correctly, but Adam Gantier, basically. Breaking Benjamin, obviously. There's some hip hop, and the hip hop that's there is Eminem, and Juvenile, because I can't go without my Juvenile.
That's
I gotta
fair.
have my Juvie.
That's fair.
But yeah,
I'm waiting to dive back into a Lil Wayne kick. Like I'm due for one. I hadn't done one in a while where I just go back and listen to like the old Squad Up albums.
yeah. For me, it's So my top 5 rappers don't change. So my top 5 is I always tell people that Eminem is literally, he's not in my top 5 because I think Eminem is the pinnacle.
I agree.
Of lyricism. Like, I bump all the politics about the man not being the same melanated person you are. He is literally the best to ever do it. And when you have all the greats also say that, like, even the man who created he didn't say he was the great, but he said he was more than welcomed. And so when you even have the man who created, like, our living God, because as black people, hip hop is our culture. So like our living God even said that this man is more than welcomed here in this home, and he is added to the culture. Like, no, Eminem is the pinnacle of hip hop. So he's not in my top 5, but I respect his contribution. So,
That's it understood in my book.
Which is my tops never change. It's Keith Murray, Ice Cube, Juvenile, Mystical, and Cassidy. Right, all for different reasons.
That's fair. Cassidy.
I wouldn't even be spitting if it wasn't for Keith Murray. I think Keith Murray also influenced a lot, not only the direction hip hop went in at the time, but those artists who were spitting. Ice Cube actually changed my mentality when he dropped the Raw Footage album. Raw Footage album, and I heard that hood mentality song. It was, if you don't want to shake that hood, man, changed my whole perspective. Then Juvenile. I always thought Juvenile was way ahead of his time. I always thought like he was more lyrical than anyone else in that group. There was nobody that I was hearing on the radio from the South that ever was like spitting at the caliber Juvenile was spitting at. Like, especially if you listen to like his albums, there's no way, you might not like his delivery, but the way he structured bars was crazy.
Yeah, it was unlike, especially with that crew.
Yeah,
who all rhymed alike.
Yo,
outside of
and so it's like when you get to Juvenile and you hear his solo, you're like, yo, that's crazy. I wouldn't have guessed that, So then Mystical, obviously another Southern artist who was ahead of his time. Nobody will ever be able to bite that style. That's
no, the charisma and chopping on top of that, like no.
Yeah, I don't see why he never comes up in like speedy rapper arguments either.
I think it's more of a touchy subject, just because he was tabooed for a couple years. I mean, he did his time, so I think he should be free to join. Yeah, right. So I feel like he should be free to join these conversations again. But I think that had a lot to do with like the reason why people would leave him out of the best whatever categories.
That's so.
So, I mean,
that's so just like whatever mentality that is, man. It's just not respecting the culture, even if you don't respect the man.
Oh, I agree. I'm just saying, like, I think that may have a lot to do with it.
No, I agree. I agree with you because I've heard people basically with that rhetoric. They're like, well, he did do such and such. Like, what does that have to do with the man's accomplishments?
That's like I still think C Murder's ill, and he's literally still sitting in prison. Like.
At least Mystical came back, dropped some hits with Wayne. Matter of fact, he dropped some hits and then went back. Then of course Cassidy, for me being a lyricist, it was Cassidy for me is the best punchliner.
Oh, hands down.
Because you can be. Let's give credit where credit's due. You could be Chameleonaire, right? You could be Chameleonaire. You can punchline all day long, have great cadence, but no one does it like Cassidy, and no one is as consistent as Cassidy. Like, and that's not consistent like how many times he dropped the track. It's consistent like literally bar is like crazy setups. The way it's not that he's just saying a punchline, is that he formulated it into a paragraph that stacks very crazy. Right, like he just doesn't stop. It just keeps coming. It keeps coming. It keeps coming. Yeah, it's phenomenal, man. So that's always been my top five. My top five it doesn't change. Those are the people who inspire me. Plus, DMX is an honorable mention.
Of course. When
I was putting together my style, of course, I was like, I gotta have this. I wanted a grunt, like that DMX grr. So DMX definitely a heavy influence as well.
Man, yeah. When I think of like punchline artists, I immediately think of Cassidy and Papoose. And I'm just like, that's a battle that I've always wanted to see.
Cassidy Papoose?
Cassidy and Papoose. Like, that is one battle I would just love to watch, and I want Kendrick Lamar to be the moderator. Because I want both of them to turn on him, talking about, I think the king of New York, huh?
The only new guy on the scene that appeals to me, like, it's not that I don't like Kendrick. I think Kendrick is actually the best of all of those guys on the radio. Like, this,
agreed.
But he's not for me. Like, he doesn't speak to me. I don't know if it's gender. I don't actually know what it is. I think I'm just not the hipster for him.
I think I got stuck watching like immediately. Like, I listened to the Section 80 album. Like, that was the legit first thing that he dropped. Like, and I got stuck with that, and I was like, yo, this is different. I want more of this. And then he dropped another one. Then dropped another. And he dropped like 3 or 4 mixtapes before Good Kid, Mad City came out. And all of those were just like direct stories, like small short stories for Good Kid, Mad City. And then you get Good Kid, Mad City, and then you get the next aspect of him growing up, which was To Pimp a Butterfly. And then the next aspect of him growing up, which was Damn. So I felt like, in a sense, I legitimately have grown with him.
See, and I've been... No, the word is to say forced. I was forced to listen to these albums. That's not a bad thing, because I got to hear him. And so that's how I got this perspective that he's actually the best out of all the new guys on the block. Like,
no, hands down.
Kendrick he's better than them. Like, he has the artistry, but also in my mind, like, because I'm a huge hip hop fan, like when I hear Kendrick, all I hear is that Lupe fiasco people rejected. Right, like the same things people rejected about Lupe, like Kendrick is doing the same exact thing.
I can see that.
So, but for me, I think, and I know people are gonna hate me for this because, again, not a melanated guy, but Tom McDonald is the craziest spitter that I'm hearing right now. That dude is unstoppable.
All right, I'm plugging that in right now.
Yeah, Tom McDonald is unstoppable. I mean, dude's gotten the beefs and addressed each one of them. Like, dude's crazy, man.
Done.
Spoke on Black Lives Matter. Like that song where he's talking about the issues, the Black Lives Matter issues, like the perspective there is mad crazy. You know, it's the same thing people rewarded. Man, what's the kid's name? Looser Joyner, something.
Lucas Joyner.
Forgive me for butchering that. Like, but yeah, the same thing they rewarded him for when he did the whole perspective conversation. Like, yo, the way Tom did it was crazy. I mean, even the visuals when doing it from the courtroom perspective, like it was crazy, man.
Oh yeah, okay. The white boy.
Yeah, Tom McDonald, bro, crazy.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, I've seen that. All right, I was like, why does this dude look familiar? I made use of this laptop or computer thing's over here. It's here.
No, use it.
I've been over here just looking for a reason to utilize. I was like, all right, well, let me look up Tom McDonald.
Yeah, Tom McDonald, bro. You can't go wrong. I wish I could suggest a particular song, but I would say the one where he addressed his beef with the dude who used to do the Guinness videos where he would try to rap something really, really fast.
Yeah.
Yo, dude's sick, man.
Yeah, I definitely need to make that happen. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna go through a binge. This is a mad videos, and so I'm assuming the albums are dope. Anybody with face tattoos immediately gets a listen because you ain't got nothing else to live for.
Yo, and what's crazy is that's another thing too. Like he addresses like, you know, the way people view him, so on and so forth, and that's for me. He's an MC of my caliber, right? Mm-hmm. Like I used to not admit that I was where I am now, but now, you know, I'm older now, and I just want to be honest about how I felt in my lifetime, right? Because somebody else will
you should
try to tell my emotions for me, and I just don't want that to ever be a thing. So, you know, the way I formulate bars, there's nobody else doing it like that, and the way that he does it is so close that I couldn't help but respect him immediately. It's every one line has three meanings, like. And he's so close to that. It's not necessarily where he is like right now, but he's so close to that. And I just thought with the way that his production sound on top of his delivery, if I could spit that fast, we would probably be the same. That's the one thing he definitely has over me. And I have nothing but respect for that. That kid mix-ups are really good, man. I love when I'm spitting something, I love the fluctuation, like, and he can do it at such a crazy pace.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
It reminds me like what are your thoughts on Yellow Wolf?
Yellow Wolf always had like here and there tracks for me.
Well, yeah, because I mean he flips more times than Kid Rock did. But
yo, that's true.
But I mean, like
I like that he had his own thing though. That redneck rap.
Right.
I like that.
Like it took all of like it took that cipher that they did. I want to say in like what like 20,
the Shady 2.0.
Yeah, it was when he dropped that cipher. I was like, okay. I think I can listen to this guy.
Yeah? You should have heard that track they actually did. It was also called Shady 2.0. I think it came from like it either came before or it came when the Shady 15 album came out.
Yeah, I think it was the Shady 15 album.
Right, okay.
I caught that.
Yo, the Shady 2.0, he had that last verse. It was good, bro. It fit him really good. But as far as like his projects went, no, but he definitely had great songs though. Like the song he did with Bizarre, I thought was dope.
Yeah,
what was it?
Bizarre
You ain't never
good.
been down this road before. I thought that was really good. The song he did with Kid Rock, the song he did with Kid Rock. Not condoning Kid Rock. I want to point that out. I don't condone Kid Rock's feelings or any racial slurs he ever said. But the song that they did together was really good, especially because it was like his original style and sound. Those type of things just I really respect them, man. Like speaking of Kendrick, when Kendrick did the Control verse, like when I like something, man, I remember that verse.
I remember the internet shutting down. Like I legit remember, like I was working at a bank at the time. Like I was doing mortgaging, so everything I did was all internet based, and the internet was crawling because everybody on the planet was trying to find a way to download this song.
Yo, I got love for you over there trying to. Yo, it was. I thought he changed the consciousness right there. I was like, yo, he literally just said exactly what all of us MCs are hoping to do. Like, literally, hey, we get it. It's money here to be made, but this is hip hop, and you should know what time it is. Like,
yep.
Boom. I thought he changed. Nothing came of it, though.
No, nothing came of it. He just wanted that last verse spot. I mean,
because the only people who actually responded with anything worth it was all the people you expect. Cassidy,
Papoose,
Cassidy, Papoose, Joel Ortiz, Joe Button. It was like, so all the people we want to hear from already said something, like, and nobody else came with anything that was worth talking about.
I was really hoping that was gonna be the next step of hip hop. Like, oh man, we got like hip hop now has like enemy number one.
Yeah, I hoped, bro.
I was hoping.
I was very hopeful for sure.
But when I think of that Control verse, but I'm just thinking like, if you
I got love for you all, but I'm trying. Yo, I love it.
If you told me that I was gonna be on a track with Big Sean and Jay Electronica, and we don't know where the verses are gonna lie yet, if you tell me I'm gonna be on a verse with like a track with Jay Electronica, like you may get a verse like that.
Yeah.
Like, I just hate that verse wasn't put last because I can't tell you anything about Jay's verse.
Yeah.
Like to this day, like I've gone back and listened to that whole song at least like 1,000 times, and I can't tell you one bar from Jay. Like,
see, and anytime I listen to it, when he comes on, the song's off.
I'm over. It's over. Like I can give you Exhibit C, like it ain't nothing, but I can't give you anything from that verse at all.
Oh man, so many artists have done Exhibit C's. Like I think for me, my favorite is, I don't know. Do you remember? He was part of Shady one time, and it was Bobby Creekwater.
Yep.
Bobby Creekwater has the best Exhibit C.
I'd agree with that.
But oh man, matter of fact, it was Bobby Creekwater who made it clear that I was the person who sided with Malcolm X. If I'm being honest, because in Exhibit C, he has that part in after the first verse where Malcolm X speaks and he's like, something is wrong with this government in which we live, wrong with us, and the wrong and the way we respond to our enemy and each other. Like, I'm sure I just butchered that, but I pretty much got it down.
Yeah.
And that phrase has never left me. So I've always, on the subject of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, I'm Malcolm X all the way. That's my perspective. It's the moralistic perspective. The way that we treat each other doesn't fit the narrative you use with the government.
Right.
So
no, I'm right there with you. No, that's crazy though. Like,
such a badass song. Such a badass song.
Just thinking about it, I just remember the internet crawling. Like, we couldn't. They damn near sent us all home because we couldn't do anything. The internet was just broken.
That song was great, man. I remember being salty. M didn't do a response. I was like, man, M would have killed this.
But nah, that's he like same family.
It would have been great, man. It would have been great.
It would have.
I mean, it pretty much anybody from Shady who would have dropped anything. Again, Joel Ortiz definitely probably had my favorite response. Then Cassidy, I would say next.
And then Paps. Like, I just thought Paps was just like, Paps just came out swinging haymakers, like unnecessary. Like, you didn't lead up to it. Like, nah, you don't say that here. I'm like, okay, I got you, bro, but you could have like led me to like, it was just line after line after line. Like, I literally had to like print it out just so I can like follow.
You got to do that with Papoose, I think.
Yeah.
Period. So for me, the artists like that for me is another thing too. I want to address, like, people who are on that pedestal don't belong in top fives. Like Mos Def, Common. I don't care. It could be.
You don't think Mos Def deserves to be up there?
No, I'm saying that's where they at.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like I don't think you saw it, but I had posted. Now I didn't make it. I had posted a picture where somebody did like this throne picture, and it was Eminem as the king, and then it was literally like two other people next to him that was supposed to be on the top with him, and I was like, replace them with Common and Mos Def. Then this is the perfect trio. Like, those dudes clearly can say things, and you will still be years later figuring out those bars.
Right.
Now, well, Royce too, admittedly, because there are plenty of times Royce says something, and like 2 years later from the Bad Meets Evil sequel, I was like,
it was the Tabernacle track, like the Tabernacle track that he did
from his project.
Yeah, and like that had me like completely rethinking everything that he's ever spit, like even as to why how he came up with the name Royce the 5'9", like with his baby being born on the 9th floor and his grandma dying on the 5th floor. Like, so
the night he performed
and met M. Like he was supposed to be the doors opened at 9. He was supposed to be there at 5. Like so, like all of these small nuances of like the 5'9" and how the name came about, like and how that whole night just symbolizes his entire like life's work. And then hearing that story played back, and it's like Jesus Christ.
I think for me, security.
Oh,
security, yeah. Yo, that song for me. When he says, "Let me tell you something," like about somebody I knew was a gangster, you could feel that pain, yo, and you could feel like if I had never heard Royce in the most sincere atmosphere, this is it. Like security was just, yo, that last verse where he explains Proof's funeral and talking to D12 about their beefs, like just leaving it alone, or the situation with him and Proof, how they met and how they had similar stories. It's like, yo, that's so deep, man. That's like I can't relate to it. Well, I can't empathize with it, but I sympathize with it.
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay. Yeah, I can't empathize with it, but I sympathize with it, and it's just great. Royce is that artist, man. He's that kind of artist. He's the dude who, again, you'll be deciphering things that he said like so much later, and he definitely is always an honorable mention.
Always. Like I wish Childish had just kept rapping. Like I wish we'd gotten more of the camp style raps. Like and it didn't just switch gears. Like his artistic mode did just kick in, because that's the way I felt about like a lot of like the early Childish Gambino works.
Yeah, didn't he just recently say something too about like what his plans are for that persona?
Yeah, he's done with it realistically. Like he's retiring him again. But that's fine. I mean, he
did seem like though the type of my shorty. She's into him really.
I love him.
And he did seem like the music I hear her play. He did seem like he was also really conscious of like the climate, and it just didn't like enthuse him.
No, it didn't. He never got the props he deserved as a lyricist. But I mean, you can't just start doing something and expect to get that. But that's kind of his MO, is like when he does something and it starts to feel like a job, it's time for him to leave it.
Yeah, because his stand up was
Yeah, I mean, stand up wasn't the greatest thing, but he could write. So like.
Yeah, I mean, he wrote on 30 Rock, right?
Yeah, that's right. He got started on 30 Rock and did that until he said it felt like a job. So he left that and started rapping, and then that thing kind of became like a job to him, but he wasn't making any money off of it. So he started writing. He started acting and went into Community. From Community, said, yeah, that was great until it started to feel like a job. So I kind of went back to rapping a little bit, but I started writing stand-ups.
I think the greatest robbery for that young man would definitely have to be the Deadpool situation.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Either that or the Miles Morales Spider-Man.
No, I think that's fair.
Because he pushed so hard to be the first Black Spider-Man.
He was the one who mentioned it. He pushed that whole
Donald for Spider-Man. It was a whole thing.
Yeah, that whole agenda literally belongs to his credibility. Yeah.
Yep. And he made a cameo as Miles' uncle.
Yeah, he was the Prowler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was there, but
for comic book fans, this is
So like he was there, but it's like it just hurts. Like I wanted him to get that. Hell, even the Spider-Man comic that he wrote, that he just gave out for free because was it like a comic, or was it he made a pilot for a TV show?
No, that was Deadpool. Yeah.
Oh, that's what it was. Did you actually read it?
I watched the whole thing. If there was a script to it, I knew nothing about it. But the video, I watched the entire video, and I also watched like his response to the leak. He was like, "Well, it wasn't on me, but whoever did it, I appreciate them. And I appreciate y'all for."
Yeah, so whoever leaked it, great. So here's what it really was, and he just put it all on his Twitter feed.
See, I didn't know about that. I only knew about his response to the leak of the actual footage, and the footage was great. So that's why I strongly believe, like, because it was him and his brother, right? I strongly believe he'd have killed that.
Oh, I absolutely think he would have. I think there's another thing that he did that I thought like just went completely under the radar. The Because the Internet album, like that was supposed to be a soundtrack to a movie, like not an actual like album release, like album. Like it was a soundtrack to a movie where he had a script and everything, and apparently the rug got pulled from under him, so he released the script for free. at becausetheenter.net. And it was the entire
That's exactly the vibe I get from that young man. Exactly, like he's just not enthused with the way that.
No, he wasn't. He tried to change it, or maybe he just tried to do it his way, and it just didn't work out the way it worked out. But
yeah, because he seems like the type of individual that I think most moralists aspire to be. You know, the people who are like, people who feel like that your rules are nice, but they don't feel right to me. So
yeah,
that doesn't matter. And I like that because obviously when the leak happened, it was like you knew the leak was gonna happen. But the way you handled it and the way you worded it, like perfect, yo.
Oh yeah, I mean it probably happened under his roof. There's
definitely believable.
Yeah, there's a short film that he has called "Laughing for All the Wrong Reasons." If you get a chance, check that out. It was while he was making Because the Internet, like as the soundtrack. Like it was while he was making that. Because Laughing for All the Wrong Reasons. It's pretty much just a day in the life of Donald Glover. So I thought like that was, and that took me like 4 watches before I actually like understood what was going on. The whole time I was just spent like just laughing at the insane amount of cameos of people that would just walk into this man's life in a day and just laughing about his daily situations. Like, who has Chance the Rapper in their studio living room? It's like, all right, well, I'm going to go outside. This thing goes outside and does some push-ups in the lawn for no reason.
Sounds like it inspired that Little Dicky show.
Oh, my God. It probably. Which is amazing, by the way.
Yeah, you liking it?
I do. I like
can't get with the hipster stuff.
I like Lil Dicky. I liked him as a rapper in general. I liked him as a comedian, essentially. It just so happened to, like, me being a hip-hop, like, fan of hip-hop was like, all right, well, I like stories, and you're funny.
Little Dicky can tell a story.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so lyrically, I don't find him enticing, even though that cypher he was a part of, he clearly was the best person to say. Again, not trying to pick somebody non-melanated, but it's kind of what has happened to our culture. Like, it's just what it is. Got to give credit where credit is due. And, like, in that cypher, he was clearly the best lyrical artist there.
He was that dude.
But I when I got introduced to him, it was obviously the Snoop Dogg video about how he got, where his position, and I was like, yo, he's not saying anything that fuels my soul, but the storytelling is so good. Like,
it's so good.
It's so good. Like when he did the whole thing about getting laid, I watched the video. Yeah. Like when he did that, it was like, yo, he's not saying anything of substance, but this is so good. Like, yes, he's telling a story.
And it's like, it's not to sound sacrilegious, but it's like, essentially, he's a punchline rapper. Like, that's what he is. He's just a very great joke teller.
I think he's literally like, man, I think he's perfect for the time that he's in.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's a byproduct of that. Maybe one day, like, hip hop will return to, what made it great, which was literally the artistry, and not the noise. Because
it will. The question's when, but it will.
Right. And I think when people look back and they say, oh, well, there was this horrible era, you can't put Lil Dicky in that category, because Lil Dicky was a product of everything that this state of hip hop has led to.
Yep.
And he embodied it with respect. That's just facts.
Yeah. And again, he shows you in the actual TV show. And I was like, I thought that's dope, because I know more people who watch Dave that never listened to Lil Dicky, and they're just jaw dropped. They're like, I wonder how many times he shot that. Once. Like, what do you mean? Like, have you never listened to Lil Dicky?
Yo,
that's him?
When he went to the mansion.
Yeah.
When he went to I thought that was dope too. I was like, I always thought about doing that. He just straight up did it. With that complexion, you can do that. You can do that.
Yeah. You absolutely can do that.
You have a winning complexion.
Well, I watched. I remember the first thing I watched was it was called Ex-Boyfriend. That was a very first. I found it. I found it on E-Bomb's World. That's how old that was. Like, I found it on E-Bomb's World, and then it showed up again on World Star. I was like, all right, I gotta watch this, and I was just flabbergasted at, like, a Jew from Philly could, like, throw down. Like, a Jew rapper never, like, would have. I don't think it would have appealed to me, or I would have, like, given it a listen, like an honest listen. But within the first, like, 3 to 4 bars, I'm just like, all right, I've laughed,
I can see that this is incredibly awkward.
And I think that's how he wins people too.
He does.
Yeah.
And he already switched styles like 3 or 4 times within the first like 4 bars. I'm like, okay, I'm sold. Like, where's it going now?
Yeah.
Or am I just gonna laugh?
I think
for the
that's
next
really
3
great,
minutes?
man. That Little Dicky is the way he is, man. The fact that that's what he goes for. He goes for the comedic approach when he clearly has the talent to do hip hop from every perspective, like or from every avenue, like because when he did that cipher, it was proof. It was like Little Dicky's he's just dicking around.
He is. He's just dicking around.
Yeah.
But now it's great. Like, and I look at Atlanta. I look at Atlanta the same, where Donald's making hip hop. Like, he's making hip hop and he's creating a world of hip hop. And he didn't have to do a single line. Hell, you've only heard Paperboy, like the actual track of like that blew up the rapper. You only heard that track on a radio for like 15, 20 seconds. Because you still never heard this whole track, but you're getting this whole hip hop persona, this whole hip hop life that Donald's now giving you with different characters. So he's still finding a way to stay in with the hip hop culture, just from a different perspective now. And I was like, it's beautiful.
You gotta love the creatives, bro. That's definitely what hip hop brings. I think that's why, whatever my group has become, that's what it is we love about the culture so much, man. That creative energy that it puts into you, man, and it tells you you don't have to be that mundane gimmick. Mm-hmm. You got a talent in you, and it's just words, man, and all you have to do is formulate and build them in phenomenal ways, man. I drive myself crazy, as I've gotten older. Like, I've learned what writer's block truly is.
I can believe that.
I used to think it was like, maybe I just need to stop freestyling and put the pen to the paper, and as I jotted, then it'll be easier. Never happened, because the need to be more and more creative just killed that every time. Anytime, I write a line, let's say like, never ever let them sit you down and tell your worth. Like, just, okay, that doesn't sound right. Go back over it again. Go back over it again. Go back over it. Never ever let them put another person first. You're worth the work. Like, sounds like trash. Go over it again. Go over it again. Go over it again. Like, I'll work on like one setup for 3 hours just until the cadence is right.
It's so meticulous. That's literally what drummers do.
Well, you guys have it way harder than me, for sure.
We really don't, though. Like, it's an equal
the
struggle.
stamina it takes to do your job.
Do you realize how hard it is to breathe and talk? Like, it's something that everybody takes for granted. That when I say
depending
so many
on
things,
that style, yeah.
and I have to breathe in between a phrase. Like, everybody takes that for granted. Like, so I'm in the process of learning how to play and rap at the same time.
See, but I can't jerk off that long.
That's fair.
So doing this like with a rhythm, like I never even learned how to dance. So you got to give respect where respect is due. That's athletic. You know what I mean? Like being a spitter, it's a gladiator's game. Period. It's words, but it's gladiator. Right. You know what I mean? Like, that's why literally there's an art form called battling. So, but this, when you're messing with those instruments, man, it takes a lot. It would be. It wouldn't be rational, or I'm sorry, it wouldn't be logical to say that it takes more brain power, but it does. It does take a lot more muscle than just this, right? Because let's be honest, like singers and spitters, like from all backgrounds, like it's all about just running your mouth,
right?
You know what I mean? Like we're just people who like to talk too goddamn much.
Well, that's 90%. You just described 90% of musicians.
But this, we don't have to do this to get it done. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. And there are those who lip sync or something, but they have some kind of aid, and they're not. You guys are literally on the mark, man, and anything could go wrong. So we went to a Blackpink concert. Right? That's K-pop, right? So there was a mess up on stage. Like, but it came from one of the performers, and I'm looking at it when it happened, and nobody's, nobody in the crowd cares. Right. But the guys that are playing, the band that's playing, like, they didn't skip a beat.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's why they don't care, because those guys are phenomenal like that. If I would have been spitting and messed up something, like, you would have known. You know, I would be lying if I'm saying like I've performed and never skipped over some words. Like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You know, because I'm trying to entertain. You know, so and I'm a perfectionist too. So of course I'm a hefty guy. I'm trying to make sure my legs move and all this other stuff, and I'm trying not to trip over these chords. I'm trying not to fall off the stage. You know what I mean? Yeah,
that's a thing.
I've dropped a mic before because somebody in the crowd thought they should reach up over to me, like, and they pull the cord, you know, drop it. They gotta hand it back to me, but my timing was right, you know. So what happened on the hook? Because I don't spit over my vocals, but the hook is there, you know. So it was the timing's right, you know. So, but I would have never been able to mimic what those guys in that band did. That's for sure. Because the moment I'd have messed up as one of them Blackpink artists, like, I wouldn't have just been looking back like she did, because she just looked back, and I was like, how is nobody noticing it? And them dudes were still.
Yeah, that's the gig, man. I mean, it's the same way. Like most of us, like if we have a mic in our face and something happens on stage, like, yeah, we don't know how to act because we're not. That's not our bag. That's not what we're trained to do. Like, yes, a performer is going to perform, and ideally, that's what it is. Like, if you sit down behind the drums and all you can do is this, and everybody knows that's all you can do is that, ain't nobody expecting you to do more than that. At that point, you just got to entertain and do what you're here to do.
Yeah, because what is it? Sevenfold? Mm-hmm. Is that yo, that drummer, crazy, yo. When I watched his like video where they were just like talking about the making of their own music videos or whatever, like, and dude was just playing with them. I was like, yo, I'd never. What kind of mutant is he?
He was his own. Like, rest in peace, the Rev. Like, he was hands down one of my favorite drummers, just because he did the double bass and metal style very melodically, and he did a lot of the stuff that he did went under the radar, cymbal stuff. The man really loved his cymbals.
Yeah, like, listen to how you talk about it. Like, that's spitters, bro. You know what you're getting with a spitter. Either he has it or he doesn't have it. Even if he mess up, like, the beat's still playing.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, you know the intricacies of, like, rappers too. So, like, there are things that you can hear in a dude spitting his cadence that, like, most people aren't gonna recognize.
Right.
The same way, like, me listening to a drummer, I'm gonna recognize something that most people wouldn't.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Like, that's just, I've spent so much time listening to and practicing and doing one thing that sometimes I can't turn it off when I'm hearing that one thing.
It's crazy, man. To me, yeah, I just have a great appreciation for that versus my thing. Maybe it's like that though. You know, maybe it's just like that, because for me, being an outsider of this, obviously, like, it's mutant.
Yeah.
Like, there's no other way to put it.
There's no way to put it.
But for the thing that I do, like, I don't understand how guys don't get this right anyway. You know, even if they're making clearly millions of more dollars than I am. You know, like, I still don't understand how you messed this up. This was easy. All you had to do was have rhythm. Like, I don't understand how you messed it up.
I teach for a living. I've learned to rid myself of that thought, like, period. Like, I legitimately teach kids how to play drums, and all you have to do is put one foot in front of the other, or just step one foot in time. That's it. If you can start here, I can fix your hands. Nope, we can't get your feet moved. Nope, you don't want to move your feet today. Okay, all right, well, then we'll try to work your hands, but understand, when you start moving that foot, all this goes out the window, like, every day.
Yeah, I remember I told Ja Bourne the same thing when we was talking. I was like, yo, I can't produce, like, and I definitely couldn't produce and write at the same time. Like, I saw what it did to Kanye when he first was doing that transition, you know, where he was trying to find a great balance between doing more productions and still spitting. Like, you start rapping to the wrong flow of the instrumentals because you built each piece of that. So you're rapping to something nobody else is paying attention to,
right?
And it makes you off key to the casual listener. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't do that. I cannot write at the way I'm trying to write because I'm still trying to perfect that and then be making beats at the same time. That I don't have that talent.
Oh, well, hey, yeah, we were about that. Oh, yeah, we have definitely hit our time.
Whoops. Okay.
Nah. No. We got, because I have a haunted house I got to get to.
Okay.
Damn. To be continued for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
man.
we're gonna get you back on.
I'd rather do this than spit anyway.
I'm saying, like, somewhere around like mile marker like 3, I'd start to get used to like, oh, this is how my voice sounds. I'm with it. But God, in the beginning sucks.
Yeah, most definitely. I appreciate you for even suggesting this, man.
Oh, dude, thank you, man. Thanks for putting it all together. Just do a favor for, I guess, anybody who's listening from on my behalf. Plug yourself real quick so everybody knows where they can find you, if they should find you, and what you got going on.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously we probably should have opened up with all that stuff way earlier, but
I didn't think about it.
It's COVID-19 and having a conversation with another human being is worth it. So,
Yep.
yeah, man, this is Joey the Bull, Joey Bizzle, the Mixed Avenger and Iron Proof. You can find me on all major outlets. Joey the Bull, the 5 to 6 project, Becoming Iron, was pretty big. I don't know if things have slowed down with the COVID-19 situation, but was definitely the project's great. It was trending in other countries. So I just hope you guys pick it up and enjoy it just as much. It's made for you to vibe to, hopefully something you can relate to. I have nothing but appreciation for those of y'all who take time out to check it out.
Yeah, I hope you all do. Stay tuned. I'm AC, that drummer. You can catch me at the Hurry Up and Wait podcast if you haven't already, or just keep your ears to the grind. And if you know some drum gigs, holla at me, because the world's opening up and I need to work. I need the work. So we will bid you adieu, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.
Hurry up and wait.
Yeah. Please, give me any beat to rap on. Flow so sick, you need a mask on. Probably in the green room, ass form. You know where to find me, that's on any platform. That's hot like an Eris from a Hilton. 600 likes, but it feels like a million. I'm handsome, brilliant, spaz out a little bit. Put me on any song, aimed in, I killed it. Running out of time, oh no, damn it. Out of this world, another planet. Thanks for the fans and all of your friends. Hurry up and wait till the